Greetings, my dear learners. This is Module 4 of Unit 1 Engineering Geology course. In this module, we will be seeing about soils and landforms associated with river, groundwater, and sea. Myself, Sarath Kumar. I am working as an assistant professor in Department of Civil Engineering, GC Dharmaburi. So first, we will be learning what is physical geology, and we will be learning soils and landforms associated with first river, second groundwater, third wind, and finally sea. So physical geology. Introduction. Effects of natural agencies taking part in changing the surface of the earth, earthquake belts in India. So physical geology is study of how the various natural agents modify the earth. So physical geology is the study of how the natural agents modify the earth's surface inside as well as outside. First, geological work of river. During the life, while flowing from head to mouth, the rivers are capable of great influence in modifying the topography of the region through which they flow. The geological work of river may be broadly divided into three well-defined phases: erosion, transport, and deposition. In almost all the natural agents works, these three well-defined phases can be seen: erosion, transport, and deposition. In each three of these phases, landforms are created, soils are deposited, which we will be seeing in the upcoming slides. Erosion. Potholes. These are various shaped depressions of different dimensions that are developed in the riverbed by excessive localized erosion by the streams. The potholes are generally cylindrical or bowl-shaped in outline and are commonly formed in the softer rocks occurring at critical location in the bedrock of a stream. So potholes occur in the riverbeds. So also it happens when the rocks are softer in nature. The shape of the potholes are cylindrical or bowl shaped. This is nothing but excessive localized erosion. The second structure is river valleys. These are the structures formed due to erosion of river. A valley may be defined as a lowland surrounded on sides by inclined hill slopes and mountain. Every major river is associated with a valley of its own. In fact, rivers are responsible for the origin, development, and modification of their valleys through well understood process of river erosion. As the river origin from the mountain top, when it comes to the bottom of the mountain with high velocity, it starts to erode the soil along with it. Over the period of time, these types of valleys creates. These are called river valleys. When the valleys get deepened, these type of structures like gorges and canyons are formed. The process of valley deepening often gives rise to magnificent surface features known as gorges and canyons. Gorges are very deep and narrow valley with very steep and high walls on either side. This is valley which is deepened. A canyon is a specific type of gorge where the layers cut down by a river are essentially stratified and horizontal in attitude. The first figure, the green one, is an example for gorge type of structure, whereas the second figure is example for canyon. The next type of structure formed due to erosion of river water is waterfalls. These are defined as magnificent jumps made by stream or river water at certain specific parts of their course where there is a sudden and considerable drop in the gradient of the channel. Many falls are easily attributed to unequal erosion of the channel rocks within a short distance due to the inherent nature of the rocks. So, due to erosion of river water, we have seen the structures formed are potholes, river valleys, gorges and canyons, and waterfalls. Now we are moving on to transportation. How the river water transports the eroded material with it. The load as all the material being transported in running water of a stream or river may thus be distinguished into following categories. Into three different categories. Suspended load. It is made up of fine sand, silt and clay sediments that are light enough to be transported in the stream water in a state of suspension. These are very fine particles which can be transported in the stream water in a state of suspension. So suspended load mainly consists of finer particles of sand, silt and clay. The second one is bed load. This fraction of the river load comprises heavier particles of sand, pebbles, gravels and cobbles and other type of materials which are moved along the beds. Here it's given as roads, it's not roads, along the bed. So heavier particle, it transmits along the bed. The finer particles, they are transported in the form of suspension, in the state of suspension, whereas the heavier particles move along the bed. The third one is dissolved load. This fraction includes particles of material soluble in water, which the river may gain due to its solvent action on the rock of the channel. Numerous rivers from the land part carry calcium carbonate, calcium sulfate and sodium chloride and other soluble salts from limestone, gypsum, anhydrite and rock salts. So, whatever the minerals that are soluble in water, it carries their minerals in a dissolved form. The examples of those minerals are calcium carbonate, calcium sulfate and sodium chloride contain minerals. So we are moving on to the next phase of the river, deposition. The entire load of a stream or a river will normally remain in transport unless there is a change in one or other factor responsible for its transport. The process of dropping down of loads by any moving natural agent is technically called deposition. Whatever the particles, either suspended, either dissolved, will move along the stream of water unless it is met with an obstruction, unless the velocity of the stream gets reduced. Once the velocity of the stream gets reduced or the stream water meets with an obstruction, the sedimented particles gets deposited there itself. The structures formed due to deposition of river water are alluvial fans and cones. These are cone-shaped accumulation of stream deposits that are commonly found at places where small intermittent streamlets coming down from hill slopes enter the lowlands. So, from the mountain, it carries the corroded material along with it. When it reaches the plain lowlands, it deposits the carrying sediments in the lowlands. The structure formed are alluvial fans and cones because it looked like a fan structure and cone structure. So another type is natural leaves. Another type of structure formed due to deposition of river water is natural leaves. These are essentially river bank deposits made by a river along its bank during floods. So here the sediments are deposited along the riverbeds and river sides. The natural leaves are sometimes helpful in preventing further flooding in a river and provided the volume of water, a new prospective flood is not much higher than that of previous floods. As shown in the figure below, first is normal level of river before flood. Once the flood comes, the sediments that are carried by the river water gets deposited on either side of the river banks. The thickest and coarsest sediments deposited at channel edges, where the finer particles are deposited over outer parts of floodplain. Over a period of time, this height of the river banks will be increased, and those structures are called natural leaves. And also it is helpful in increasing the flood stage water level. Geological work of river. Another type of structure that is formed due to deposition of river water is deltas. So deltas are defined as alluvial deposits of roughly triangular shape that are deposited by major river at the mouth where they enter a sea. So alluvial deposits are very finer particles which can be transported by river even when the velocity is very much lower. Even if the velocity is not fast, this type of fine particles can be transmitted by river. At the junction where this river water meets sea, these very fine particles are deposited in the form of alluvial. These are very fertile in nature and is very good for farming. So the various structures, various landforms that are formed due to deposition of river is alluvial fans and cones. It is called fans and cones because it resembles the shape is similar to fan and cones. Natural leaves and deltas. The next part is geological work of groundwater. We will be seeing this in the next part. Thank you.